Today we're going to meet a young stroke survivor. Most people think that strokes happen to grandma and grandpa, but 10% of strokes occur in people under the age of 50. In April, we learned that the new coronavirus appears to be causing strokes in people in their 30s and 40s, perhaps by an increased risk of a blood clot to someone who has COVID-19. Hi, my name is Carol Dow Richards, and I'm with the Aphasia Recovery Connection, a nonprofit, and we help stroke survivors and their families learn, share, and connect on Facebook, on virtual connections, and at events. And that's how I met this handsome young stroke survivor. Hi, Drew. How are you?
Hi, how are you? I'm great. How are you?
Good. Where are you living now? What state are you in?
I'm in California.
Okay. And you are a stroke survivor. How long ago was your stroke?
Roughly 10 years.
About 10 years ago. So you must have been pretty young, like in college or so.
Yeah, I was I was 21. I was 21.
Probably just about ready to graduate?
Uh, Somewhat junior.
Okay. So, but you were getting closer to graduation and then this
Yeah.
happened.
Yeah.
Yeah. And, when you were first diagnosed with having a stroke, did you have any paralysis? Usually we think of disabilities as a physical disability. Did you have some paralysis?
Yes. Yes.
How was it in the beginning?
It uh, I remember it was just so the arm is just the muscles just so tight. This is the opposite hand, but
Yeah.
it's now it's slowly progressing, and but I'm not. My movement is weak, and my arm is just a drop foot, but it's hard. It's definitely hard.
So the physical parts have been challenging for you, and I assume you were probably even in a wheelchair in the beginning.
Yes. Well, I remember. I really don't remember. But I was wheeling my parents, and I was in a wheelchair, and then with what was it called? I was
Like a headrest?
thank you, headrest. Yeah.
Okay. So one of the things that I wanted to talk to you about too with strokes is about a third or so people that have strokes can also have a condition called aphasia, which you sort of just gave an example of when you said you used a gesture and tried to show me a headrest. You were using a gesture because the word wasn't coming fast enough.
Oh, yeah.
So that's called aphasia. So did aphasia affect you a lot in the beginning?
Oh yeah. I remember uh, maybe three words.
Three
No,
words.
go, and a swear word. So I'm not going to tell you, but
Okay. That's
yeah,
not uncommon.
yeah, it's. I remember reading, writing.
You couldn't read
You can read.
and you couldn't write.
Nope. Spelling as well, and then
How about understanding?
I understand it as well. Yeah.
You couldn't understand what people were saying. That had to be terrifying for both you and your family.
Oh, yeah, it is, and even right now, but it's progressing.
So you've been in recovery for 10 years, and I often tell people that unfortunately, having a stroke isn't like getting your appendix out where you're just going to improve. Your body just recovers and you go on with your life. With stroke, there is damage that happened, and even though, and I want to show this, so we often remind people that aphasia is a loss of language, but not a loss of intellect. So it had to be really, really tough with the aphasia part. And you're talking so much better now. And I know you've done some public speaking and you're raising a lot of awareness. One of the things that we've been hearing about these young people with COVID is some of them, that have had strokes are not going to the hospital because they think, well, number one, it couldn't be a stroke. And number two, I'm so young, or these symptoms will go away. So there's an acronym called FAST. Can you help me with what that means, how people can identify a stroke? What's the F stand for?
Droopy? I know.
It's a droopy face. It's a droopy face. So one of the ways people can do is they can look in the mirror and smile. Is your smile normal or is your smile crooked? Yeah, I know my son's face was crooked. Was your face crooked in the beginning too?
Oh yeah.
Yeah. So that's one of the telltale signs, but not always. So that's F. The second one is A for arm. So is there weakness on one side or the other, or your leg, arm or leg? Let's see, the next letter is S. What does that stand for? That's what aphasia does. It affects your speech. And that's a really tough one. That's a really tough one. And the last one is T for time.
Oh, time, yeah.
Because you've got to get to the hospital right away. So, and I do want to say, Drew, I feel so bad for these families that are dealing with young strokes right now. And I know that aphasia is very, very impactful. And I'll certainly share this on our Facebook page and try to help raise awareness during the month of May for stroke awareness. But I also want people to really understand how impactful aphasia is. So one of the studies that was done showed that if you looked at 75 diseases and health conditions and you rated the impact of quality of life, aphasia, an invisible disability, actually has the largest impact on someone's life.
Wow.
Yeah. Well, and look at your life. You were going to college and you were planning to graduate and be a hotshot executive like your dad and all of those things, and then all of a sudden, aphasia just affects your everyday life now, doesn't it?
Yeah, it's a struggle, but I'm not gonna stop giving up, and that's important.
And you've improved every year, and I think that's important too for people that are new to stroke, whether it's you have aphasia or not. I mean, like Drew has gone from being in a wheelchair and having to get where he's now walking and does really well walking. Drew has gone from only saying 3 words, and apparently one was a swear word, to saying only 3 words, to now being able to do an interview and feeling comfortable with doing an interview or doing some public speaking. I know you do some advocacy work there in California. You really try to raise awareness. So hats off to you.
Thank you.
If you were going to offer, if you met somebody, if you and I walked into a hospital room right now and we met a young person who just had a stroke, whether they were old or young actually, what would you say?
I just don't give up. Practice, practice, practice. For instance, I'm telling you, practice, practice, practice.
You're right, because that's how neuroplasticity works. So unless you challenge yourself and practice, and that means practicing in the clinical setting, whether you're in speech therapy or physical therapy or OT, but also when you're out of the clinical setting. So some doctors have said that, and I don't know if Drew, you've probably met some people like this. I know you work really hard on your recovery all the time, but some doctors say that when somebody leaves the hospital, sometimes they might be walking 30 paces, and then 6 months later, they see them in their office, and that patient can't walk 30 paces anymore. And why? It's exactly what you said. It's because they did not continue to practice, practice, practice. And it's a use it or lose it. You have to keep your body strong. You have to exercise. You have to keep doing like Drew's doing, where he's challenging himself with his speech every day. I know you also go to Cal State East Bay,
Yes.
and they've got some amazing things there. I hear they have a singing group.
Yeah, it's actually about 2 hours ago, but it's phenomenal program because your speech and reading and singing, it's just fantastic, and it's enjoyable. It's really nice.
So it sounds like you have fun singing, and you probably also enjoy the camaraderie with the other people.
All the people love it.
Okay. And then now with COVID and the lockdown, how are you guys doing that? Because you can't meet up at Cal State.
Yeah, it's a great opportunity for Zoom, and it's people uh, chat, but inside our homes, and but Zoom, sorry, the Zooms, like maybe I'm making them up, like 15 people join, and it's a fantastic
Yeah,
program.
like you and I right now are on Zoom. And if we wanted to, we could have 10 or 20 or even 50 people on the screen. So, so when I post this video, what I will also do is I will post information about Cal State East Bay so that any of you that live in the California area that are interested in finding out more about that, you can. And in the meantime, for those of you that may be dealing with young strokes, or if you're older and you had a stroke, keep in mind Drew's great advice. Thank you, Drew. Don't give up. Practice, practice, practice. So thank you so much. Be well, my friends.
Right.